would invite you all to open your hymnals and follow along with the order of service this evening for the carols.
This opening reading is written by Jan Richardson in honor of Women's Christmas, celebrated annually each 6th of January. You have looked at so many doors with longing, wondering if your life lay on the other side. For today, choose the door that opens wide.
Travel the most ancient way of all, the path that leads you to the center of your life. No map, but the one you make yourself. No provision, but what you carry, and the grace that comes to those who walk the pilgrim's way.
Speak this blessing as you set out and watch how your rhythm slows, the cadence of the road, drawing you into the pace that is your own.
Eat when hungry, rest when tired. Listen to your dreaming. Welcome detours as doors deeper in. Pray for protection. Ask for the guidance you need. Offer gladness for the gifts that come, and then let them go.
And do not expect to return by the same road. Home is always by another way. And you will know it not by the light that awaits for you, but by the star that blazes inside you, telling you where you are is holy and you are welcome here. Please join us in singing, "O Come All Ye Faithful," number 253. Stand as you are willing and able in body, mind, and spirit. We will sing the first verse twice, the first time through, in Latin. Please be seated. Welcome, friends, on this holy and winter night. We wait still for there to possibility of snow on Christmas morning. It might be a long wait. I am the Reverend Lora Young. My pronouns are she and her, and it is delightful to see so many new and returning faces on this most holy of nights. Tonight, we honor the story of the birth of the Christ child 2 millennia ago, and its roots as a radical upending of the status quo in the ancient world and into our contemporary times. This ancient and beloved story of a man dedicated to delivering a life-saving message of love and justice. It is a story of resilience and hope, born again and again into our heartbreakingly beautiful and broken world. Our chalice is lit, and to it now we add some additional light. As Hanukkah begins tomorrow at sunset, we will not light its candles here, but we hold in our memory that Hanukkah reminds us to have hope in the face of despair. This week, we also celebrated the arrival of the winter solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere. The longest night has already passed. Winter has begun, and yet also now our days begin to lengthen once more. There are still many weeks of winter slumber ahead before the season turns to spring, and we arrive to our summer solstice. We may not be able to perceive that shift in the light quite yet, but it is nonetheless growing. There is a necessity to both the light and the dark for our illumination and reflective growth as human beings. as we learn together how to grow in kindness and in love. May all the celebrations and all the cycles meet with the lengthening of light in you, wherever you are on this night, and remind you that all is already well, already whole and holy, and that most importantly includes you, no exceptions.
I would like to take a minute and introduce myself. I am Catlin Collins. My pronouns are she and her, and I have pink hair and a lovely red top on this evening. And it is my privilege to be your worship associate this evening on Christmas. There are some people we need to greet. If you could turn around and wave at our virtual audience and say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We're glad you found us. Our first reading tonight is from the Christian scriptures. It's found in the Gospel of Matthew. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem, asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star in the east and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet. And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the Magi and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star they had seen in the east, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road.
Our second reading tonight comes from a secular source. It begins like this. I have been privileged to see firsthand how powerful and how fragile freedom is. 28 years ago, I stood outside a polling place, a schoolhouse in western Kenya. Soldiers had chased away people who were lined up to vote. A few hours later, though, they came streaming back, risking further attack, undaunted in their determination to exercise their right to vote. In 1992, I sat across the table from a young mayor in Russia and listened to him talk of his dream of liberating his nation from communism. Years later, for his dedication to the cause of freedom, Boris Nemtsov was assassinated by Vladimir Putin. In Warsaw in 1990, I listened to a young Polish woman tell me her greatest fear was that people would forget. They would forget what it was like to live under Soviet domination. They would forget the price of freedom. Our freedom only survives if we protect it. Our duty is clear. Each one of us who has sworn the oath must act to prevent the unraveling of our democracy. This is not about policy. This is not about partisanship. This is about our duty as Americans. Remaining silent and ignoring the lie emboldens the liar. We will not participate in that. Our oath requires that we love our country more, that we love her so much we will stand above politics to defend her. We will do everything in our power to protect our Constitution and our freedom that has been paid for by the blood of so many. We must love America so much that we will never yield in her defense. That is our duty. Liz Cheney.
This community, our church, and its many ministries are made possible by the gifts you give of your time, your talent, and your treasures. Many of you pledge monthly, and for this we are grateful. Your gifts help to ensure that we are able to live our values of love and justice in the world outside. It is our tradition on Christmas Eve to dedicate our offering to the South Valley Samaritan Fund. The Samaritan Fund is a fund that supports members and friends in financial need. It can be used to help cover emergency living expenses such as rent, utilities, food, and gas. Your contributions support people in our community who are in need. Please come prepared to give generously. Please give generously. If you would join me now in reading our offertory words. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together we share the love of this community and sustain it with our gifts. We will now accept the offering. For those at home, you are invited to use the giving link in the online order of service. I invite the ushers to come forward.
For all we have found the courage to give, may we be truly grateful. May these gifts be a blessing on those in need in our community that benefit from our Samaritan Fund. Thank you for your generosity. I invite you now on this Christmas Eve to join me in a time of silent reflection, meditation, and prayer. If it's your custom to clasp your hands or to close your eyes, you may do so, or you may just rest in the silence of this time and this moment. Spirit of this season that calls to us from across the many months of the heat and the turning of the fall, we invoke you on this night, following the solstice, awaiting the arrival of Hanukkah, into this precious moment, when an ancient story is retold again to enliven in all of us our hearts anew. Spirit of life, we come to you brokenhearted as ever, full of joy as ever, seeking to find connections with one another. May we find this time and this space a place of rest and of respite in an otherwise busy time. May our hearts find solace, may our hands find comfort, and may we be rooted in a spirit of love and justice that surpasses all understanding. May the miracle and the mystery of this night and of the joy of community arise, embolden, and speak through our hearts in the days, weeks, and years to come. Amen.
Our next reading is The Work of Christmas by Howard Thurmano. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins, to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among the brothers, to make music in the heart.
The prophet engages in futuring fantasy. The prophet does not ask if vision can be implemented, for questions of implementation are of no consequence until the vision can be imagined. Thus, every totalitarian regime is frightened of the artist. When the wise men sojourned across the desert seeking the Christ child, foretold in the sky by a brilliant star, they understood the risk of daring to speak truth to power. Yet they trusted the signs, undertook the journey, gathered intelligence, and warned the new parents of King Herod's plans. They also, the story says, brought valuable gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. These gifts were both practical and symbolic. Each gift could be traded for provisions on the way to Egypt and used to set up a household in a faraway place. And symbolically, the meaning of these gifts foretold of the special nature of Jesus' journey. Symbolically, gold was for kingship or leadership, we might say today. Frankincense for the divine spark within, and myrrh for humanity. Taken together, they function in that story as a prophetic warning. This child is special. He is anointed. His calling to justice and love as a prophet and leader will get him crucified, and you must flee this place so that he may live to fulfill his purpose. And we know that this story was written many years after the death of Jesus, and that its veracity as historically true is limited at best. But that is not the point, really. The point is its power to remind us of what is important and how to navigate difficult political times with cunning, resilience, and trust, and to foreshadow the practical and spiritual skills needed for resisting the cruelty of the Roman Empire that Jesus of Nazareth would preach. These skills and attributes have endured for millennia, which is why we honor them tonight. My question is for you, what would the gifts of the Magi be today? What would the gifts be today? What skills are most needed right now for this place and this time? What must we teach and develop in one another? And what does church have to do with any of that? The last question is perhaps the easiest for me to answer as the minister, so I'll start with that one tonight. The purpose of church is to teach us how to live in community with others who may or may not agree with us, but are still committed to learning, loving, and growing their capacity as humans to be kind, to be compassionate, and to serve the world. In Unitarian Universalism, which if you're new to this place, that is the name of this denomination, Unitarian Universalism, it is an explicit call to live pluralistically. That is, it is a call to embrace differences as opportunities for growth and learning, while still adhering to shared understandings of what it takes to build cooperative and collaborative communities guided by love. That our churches, including this one, have missed the mark from time to time is of no surprise, of course. Churches are made up of human beings. But that does not mean that the endeavor is not worth pursuing. It has been said by others that church is at its best when it is a countercultural response to the evils of the world. Now, it depends on what you think of being as the evils of the world. I would offer to you that one of the evils of the world these days is a digital world that leads us to be disembodied, that takes place asynchronously, is shallow and solitary. Disembodied, asynchronous, shallow, and solitary culture. And that these problems of the digital age lead us to greater rates of depression, disconnection, loneliness, and despair. Disconnection from the sacred being primary among those. And the countercultural response, therefore, from our churches, our rituals, and our practices, if they are serious about repairing the whole and including all of us in a system of love and justice, must therefore be embodied, synchronous, deep, and collective. So what we bring forth is repair, recovery, connection, and joy. Those of us who gather in these types of communities do not want platitudes. We don't want fear-mongering and guilt and shame as the gifts given to us on a given Sunday. We want religious leaders and religious faith communities to be places where truth is spoken, where accountability matters. Hard questions are asked and asked again with curiosity and nuance, where differences of opinion and practice are welcome, and where we can serve the world collectively while being cared for by non-kin family. That is what a religious community is, right? Non-kin family or chosen family. And despite the reports that church is in decline because of secularization, I would like to remind us all that church is actually a good thing in our lives. It actually extends our life expectancy by up to 7 years. So if for nothing else, you should come, because those years occur in the middle of your life. But church is also one of those few places where we don't have to leave because our circumstances change or because we get older. We don't lose our connection just because our children grow up. We don't even have to have children at all. Our ability to perform a job, a skill, to have an athletic feat that allows us to participate in a cycling or a hiking club, those do not matter. And in this community, how we love and whom we love, our choice to be married, monogamous, or not, also does not change our eligibility for participation. Our participation is lifelong if we choose it. And for those of us who do choose it, again, you're going to live longer. This makes church a highly unique and I'd say rather valuable proposition in a digital world, as long as we remember to remain rooted in love and responsive to justice. I think the other gift that Unitarian Universalism also offers in a time such as this is that we have a long history of being heretics. Our heretical religious tradition has a long history of being dismissed and even persecuted for our insistence that justice and love matter most on this side of the grave, and that each child that's born is holy and wholly capable of changing the world with their love. We have long been a site that seeks to practice what it preaches, and we will continue to do so in the times ahead. Right now, in our current time and context, the rule of law and the democratic processes are under tremendous pressure. And churches and other civic organizations like it are a great means of keeping those skills and attributes required to bring about the justice that we know is possible alive, and to promote it, to teach it, and to grow it in our hearts and minds. Churches are a place of resistance to the pressure of being further divided, diluted, dismissed, and denied access to good governance. We instead here are going to insist on a shared set of human rights and values that support human flourishing, that is as enduring a message as it ever was and continues to be since the time the Christ child was born. And this church, one that demands an inclusive justice for all people, is well positioned to support and enliven that work, regardless of the differences of approach, tradition, culture, and practice, and to give us the skills to build the bridges that are necessary to bring about collective justice and peace, freedom from violence, and a sense of abiding care and love. Churches have also been a place where art and science have at times been challenged, but church can also be a place where the arts and sciences can be nourished. Kings and dictators have forever understood that the cloak of false religiosity is an effective tool to suppress the arts and sciences, the engines of our creativity, innovation, and salvific efforts to heal each other and the whole of the earth. We know that when the arts and the sciences flourish, things change for the better. When we, as the people, educate, elevate, connect, and inspire each other to a better humanity, things get better. This is the place where we can practice and learn to love and honor the deep, sacred humanity and the spark of the divine in all of us. It is easy in our online social and media spaces these days to be dissuaded from the possibility of a deeper, more robust, embodied connection, especially since so many of those spaces are increasingly controlled by a few men, and they are men, committed to endlessly enriching themselves at the cost of everyone else. But do not lose faith, because for any of us who have ever read any meaningful literature, we know that history is full of eras in which wealth and power have become far too concentrated, and that history is always met with people who have resisted and prevailed against that harrowing and divisive practice. Never perfectly, of course, but our commitment to justice and love remains steady. So I wonder if perhaps the next time you are frustrated by an oligarch, you might consider whether or not they've ever read a meaningful literature or a piece of poetry that would maybe remind them of their hubris. For it is through the arts, through the love of literature and poetry, the practice of scientific inquiry, that we will topple them in time. If they had read meaningful literature, they would know that they cannot escape the human condition, that no matter how much money and power they accumulate, that they are still human, still fallible, and still subject to the laws of physics and to history. They will not escape. The people will prevail, as we always have. And as for this time in between, when it seems that we don't know which way it might yet go, let us remember to stick together and to practice those skills of communal care, courageous love, and bold action for justice. For here in this place, we know that human is nothing we do alone, that human is something we do together. And so I ask you my question again. What gifts would you, the people, bring to the foot of a baby born tonight? What gifts might we bring to the birth of a child that we knew had the capacity to change the world through their love? How might we honor their capacity for leadership, the spark of the divine within them, and the reminder that we are all fallible and all wonderfully and perfectly human? I have a couple suggestions in case you're short on ideas. Perhaps one of the following might do. A library card, so they may learn from the experience and wisdom of others and know that their story matters too. A handful of dirt from the place they were born, so they may understand their connection to the earth, their place in it, and their ultimate return to it. A telescope and a microscope, so they have the tools of scientific inquiry and a sense of wonder to spark their imagination, and to rest in the beauty and vastness held in each and every bit of stardust that makes us a part of this wild, a little crazy sometimes universe. And I would add a fourth because I'm the minister and I can. And we don't actually know how many wise people there were. It's just a story. I would add the gift of a good church community so that they may know their humanity fully in connection with other people who do not think alike, but are committed to loving the world to wholeness. Whichever gifts are given in the service of truth, justice, and love, I am confident that these gifts and a bit of luck, each child would be equipped with what they need to seek truth, ask good questions, offer kindness, and thus do the work of healing, liberating, and saving the world again. I, for one, am up for trying, and on this night, I invite you to do the same. We are, in fact, each of us, a blessed child of humanity. No exceptions. Our ability to heal, to hold, and love each other fully and well is what matters most in our brief time here. I believe that it is so, and I invite you to imagine it with me as well. And let us trust that by this we shall be saved. May it be so, and amen. Tradition that reminds us there is always hope to be found, and that even a tiny spark of light is enough to dispel the darkness. Each of you has received a candle as you entered, and if you don't have one yet, please just raise your hand and someone will come and bring one to you. We will now extinguish our communal chalice. The flame is out, but the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action remains bright in each of us. And we hold each other in our hearts until we meet again. As you go forth into the night, travel with these words. Write them in your heart for when you need them most. Pray for protection. Ask for guidance you need. Offer gladness for gifts that come, and then let them go. Do not expect to return by the same road. Home is always by another way, and you will know it not by the light that waits for you, but by the star that blazes inside you, telling you where you are is holy, and you are welcome here. Let us extinguish our candles together. You may be seated for the postlude.